What a couple of weeks this has been. Welcome to From Center Ice. My name is Courtney, and I am back with a Blackhawks video. It's been a very long time since I recorded one of these. There was an update video that went out a couple of weeks ago, and most recently there was a Maple Leafs video that went up on this channel, but it's been a hot minute since we sat here and talked about the Blackhawks. I've talked about it in every video recently, so I'm not going to go over and rehash why there haven't been as many videos. If you want to hear all about that, you can just go check out the last one about the Leafs. I talked about it a little bit at the beginning. As always, I've still been over on Twitter at VFCenterIcePod. If there isn't a video here for a while, that's the best place to check in and see what's going on. But anyway, like I said, we're here to talk about the Blackhawks, so that's what we're going to do. We won't dwell on it too much, but let's go back just a little bit to the month of February, which was not a great month for this team. They had a record of 3-5-1 throughout the month of February, and not only that, but they were shut out 3 times. The first time kicked off the month of February on the 2nd when they faced the Minnesota Wild. The second one was right in the middle of the month on the 18th of February where they lost to Dallas. Technically they were shut out, but also technically Marc-Andre Fleury got a shutout because that game went to the shootout, tied 0-0. Yes, both goaltenders got a shutout, but Dallas won. The NHL is very strange. And I'd say that this is why a lot of people argue for bringing back ties. But then you have the other side of the argument where someone's gotta win, so they went to the shootout, Dallas got more goals than the Blackhawks did, so obviously Dallas wins. I see both sides of the argument as I've gotten older and watched hockey more and, you know, kind of matured in my hockey fandom, for lack of a better term. I'm sort of more on the side of bringing back ties than I used to be. Now, I love shootouts. I think they're a lot of fun. I hate them when they're my team because, of course, we all know they are very, very anxiety-inducing. But they are a lot of fun to watch when it's a different team. Or if it's the Rockford Ice Hogs because they lead the AHL in shootout wins this season, and Michael Tepley leads the AHL in shootout goals, and Arvid Soderblom is 4-0 in shootouts. That is not something we are used to here in Rockford, but I will absolutely take that. Anyway, this isn't a rant about shootouts, so moving on. They kicked off February getting shut out, they got shut out right in the middle, and they ended the month of February on the 27th, getting shut out by the St. Louis Blues, which hurts most of all just because it's the Blues and Jordan Bennington. But anyway, that was the disastrous month of February. So then we come into March, and it's only March 13th right now as I sit here and record this, so we haven't been in this month very long, but it has certainly been very interesting so far. They kicked off the month of March on Thursday, March 3rd, in a game against the Edmonton Oilers at the United Center. It was Duncan Keith's return to Chicago, and it was also Nicholas Hjalmarsson Legacy Night. So all of the emotions were going crazy in that one, but unlike a lot of other special nights, the Blackhawks actually pulled out a win in that game, in overtime even. You could even say it was quite the game to transition from the old guard in Chicago to the new, because Alex DeBrincat was the one to get the goal in overtime, and you know, depending on what moves new GM Kyle Davidson makes, Alex DeBrincat is the center of the core for the rebuild of this team, since we're once again in a rebuild apparently. He's the player that you build this team around going forward. So all's well and good, they grab the win in that game. Then that Saturday they go into Philadelphia, where they haven't won there in regulation, or maybe even won there at all in the regular season in like 20 years. Of course, we know what's happened in the playoffs, but it's a very strange stat seeing that they haven't won there in the regular season for a very, very long time. And it looked like they were maybe going to finally change that it, and then they did not. It was a hard-fought game. It was a good game. The Blackhawks had a 3-2 lead going into the third period, but 2 third-period goals from the Philadelphia Flyers kept that losing streak in Philly going strong. And you know, it's just kind of been the month of nostalgia so far. Of course, that first game, Nicholas Hjalmarsson's back, Keith is back in Chicago. The next game, they're in Philadelphia, where we all know what happened there when it comes to the Blackhawks. And then the very next night, they play the Tampa Bay Lightning, who, of course, they beat in 2015 to win the Stanley Cup. But that is not at all how that game went. Dylan Strome opened the scoring, of course, assisted by Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat. That line has been absolute fire as of late. They cannot stop scoring. It's great to see. Who knows what's going to happen at the deadline, but it seems like Patrick Kane is very much lobbying for Dylan Strome to stay in Chicago. But Tampa tied it up at the beginning of the second, but then Patrick Kane, of course, who else, regained the lead for Chicago 2-1. And then within a minute, Victor Hedman and Cal Foote scored for the Tampa Bay Lightning to give them the lead going into the third period. Trailing 3-2 going into the third period, not impossible. That's only 1 goal to tie it, 2 goals to win if you don't give up any goals. But they did give up goals, especially to start that third period, because in a span of less than 2.5 minutes, Hedman, Perry, and Sergachev scored. Yes, 3 goals in a span of less than 2.5 minutes to start the third period, and that's just how the game spiraled out of control for the Blackhawks. Alex DeBrincat did want to get in on the fun of scoring goals, so he added one about 7 minutes into the third. So Dylan Strome, Patrick Kane, Alex DeBrincat all scored goals in that game, but it was not enough because they could not keep the puck out of the net. So while the Blackhawks had great feelings against the Tampa Bay Lightning in 2015, ever since then, it's been pretty bad feelings. And then the Anaheim Ducks came to town on that Tuesday, and Anaheim has been a surprising story this season. They're doing a lot better than people expected them to be doing, but as of late, they've kind of faltered a bit. They're now 6th in their division, but John Gibson has had a rough stretch lately. And the Blackhawks just decided to have an offensive explosion in that game, and they won 8-3. Patrick Kane scored a career high. Shocking, I know. He's still breaking his own records. But he scored a career-high 6 points in that game. He got Dylan Strome a hat trick. Of course, Strome had to score the goals, but Patrick Kane had the primary assist on all 3 of them. And that was a fantastic game to watch. It was a lot of fun. And then they went into Boston 2 days later, of course, where they won the 2013 Stanley Cup. See, the whole month of nostalgia thing going on here. And that was another good game, kind of similar to that game in Philadelphia. It was close, it was good, and they were tied in the third period until there were 17 seconds left in regulation when Pasternak scored to give the Bruins the 4-3 lead. It just had to be 17 seconds, didn't it? Usually, when you say 17 seconds while talking about the Blackhawks, you think of all the happy times in 2013 when they won the cup. And just something about it being in Boston with the 17 seconds left on the clock, just Of course, it's just a regular season game that doesn't really mean anything, especially for the Blackhawks, because they're not even close to trying to get a playoff spot right now. But still, all of that brings us to last night when the Blackhawks went north of the border to take on the Ottawa Senators. Now, the Sens aren't having a great season. They, unlike the Ducks, are doing worse than most people predicted, since to end last season, the Senators looked like they were picking up their game, playing a little better. The season hasn't been all that great for them. They've had some weird troubles in net. Anton Forsberg had like a .921 save percentage coming into this game last night. Of course, former Blackhawk Anton Forsberg. And he was the one in net last night, so I was fully prepared for the Blackhawks to get goalied by their former goalie, because that's just what seems to happen. But let's talk about this one, because the story coming out of that game wasn't the goaltenders or the Blackhawks getting goalied, which they didn't. The stories were a lot deeper, and I mean, there were two. There's one very bad and there's one very good, weird game. After the first period, it was a great game to watch, but also very bittersweet knowing the full context of the game. So 2 minutes and 40 seconds into the first period, something extremely terrifying happened. Parker Kelly and Connor Murphy were along the boards, sort of in the corner, not totally, but they were along the boards, and Murphy had the puck, he was turning, and in the course of that happening, Parker Kelly was coming in for the hit, and he hit Murphy into the boards. His face hit them first, hit the glass, and he went down immediately and just collapsed to the ice. Now, watching this live, it really didn't seem that bad. Of course, watching it back with replays, you can see that, yeah, a boarding call is the right call for that play. Even though it was the right call and all of that, Kelly really didn't hit Murphy all that hard. I think it had something to do with the body positioning and maybe where he hit on the glass. But unfortunately, he was knocked out immediately, and they had to call for the medical staff to come on the ice. Connor Murphy had to be stretchered off. Thank God, after a few minutes, he was moving his feet, he was moving his hands, he was able to give the thumbs up as he was being stretchered off the ice. It was a very scary few moments there in Ottawa, and full props and thank yous to the Ottawa medical staff for assisting the Hawks staff with getting Murphy onto that stretcher, getting him off the ice. He didn't have to go to the hospital. He remained at the arena under the supervision of the Blackhawks doctors. And we learned after the game from Derek King that he was cleared to travel, so he was able to travel back to Chicago with the team, which I want to take as a positive sign. But all of my thoughts are just with Connor Murphy, and I really hope he is okay. He just missed time recently, being out with a concussion, and you have to assume that's what's gonna happen again here. Like I said before, the Blackhawks aren't even close to contending for a playoff spot, so I think it would be wise to just keep him out for the rest of the season, let him heal up, heal his head, his neck, his back, whatever is hurting him, because there's no point in him coming back. His health is the most important thing. The hockey doesn't matter. It's Connor Murphy, the human, that matters, and we want him to get as healed up as is possible for his body. He's put a lot of hard miles on it, and like I said, being out just recently with a concussion and then this happening again, there's no point in him coming back this year. But I wish all of the best for him, and I hope he does heal up quickly. As a result of that boarding call, Parker Kelly got 5 minutes and a game misconduct, so he was done for the night. The Blackhawks had a 5-minute power play. They did not score on it, but Ottawa did. Brandon Hagel had the puck in the offensive zone, a turnover from him near the blue line, and Alex Formanton and Connor Brown were sent the other way. Seth Jones was the only one back. He laid down to take away the pass, maybe laid down a little bit too early, but Connor Brown didn't pass it. He shot the puck, got it past Marc-Andre Fleury, and it was 1-0 Ottawa. Which, you can say what you want about the turnover from Brandon Hagel, you can say what you want about the defending by Seth Jones, say what you want about Marc-Andre Fleury not stopping that puck. It was very, very soon after they just saw their teammate, one of the more respected guys in that locker room, an alternate captain. He just got wheeled off the ice on a stretcher after a very scary few moments of him being knocked out. Their heads were not in the game, and I don't really know how teams are expected to go out there and carry on a game after something like that happens. Maybe it's a good distraction for the players, because if they were to not play, they would just be worrying about their teammate, but I don't know, it's weird to me. If they insist on the game going forward that same night, I feel like there should be an intermission at least after something like that happens. But I'm just here to talk about the game and not here to change the rules, so onward. Almost exactly 6 minutes after Connor Murphy is taken off the ice. Zach Sanford lays a huge hit on Kirby Dach, knocks him over. Thankfully, Kirby seems to be okay. It wasn't a dirty hit, I'm not trying to say that. It was just a big hit in the middle of the ice. And Jonathan Toews was not happy seeing another one of his guys knocked down. He grabbed Sanford and they went at it, had a fight. Johnny probably took the worst of that, which is also terrifying because he just came back from concussion protocol. I know people say you love to see the captain stand up for his players, and of course you do, but it's also maybe not the best idea, especially, like I said, because he just came from being on concussion protocol. He's got to look out for his brain health as well. So it's a very conflicting moment. Thankfully, it seems like Johnny is okay. And as much as you love to see guys stick up for their teammates, as much as you love to see the captain of the team step up and defend his guys, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Toews fighting there. I understand it because that's hockey. I'm just not a fan of it happening. But anyway, 14 minutes and 7 seconds into that first period, after the Blackhawks were absolutely hemmed in their defensive zone for a long time, Dylan Strome tried to clear the puck off the glass. Thomas Chabot said, nope, I'm going to knock that down and take that puck right to the center of the ice and blast it past Marc-Andre Fleury. And the game was 2-0 in favor of the Ottawa Senators. Sure, maybe you want that puck a little higher on the glass. Whatever, the Hawks could not get the puck out. They just kept turning it over. Credit to Ottawa for pressing that hard. This isn't on Dylan Strome. And again, say what you want about any of those guys, but it's still in the same period where they saw their teammate being stretchered off of the ice. You can't blame them for any of this happening. So they go into the first intermission down 2-0, and they come out in the second period a completely different team. Maybe it's because they got an update about Murphy during that intermission that he was doing okay. He was still at the arena, didn't have to go to the hospital. They were able to regroup their minds a bit, get back into the game, but 58 seconds into that second period, Patrick Kane has the puck near the net with all of the time in the world to shoot the puck, but he sees Jonathan Toews streaking down the middle of the ice. He finds him with a great pass, and the captain makes no mistake, puts the puck into the back of the net. He cut the lead in half. It was 2-1 in favor of the Ottawa Senators. Not only was it Toews' 6th goal of the season, it was Patrick Kane's 47th assist of the season, and with that point, it put him in sole possession of second place all-time in Blackhawks scoring. Coming into last night's game, he was tied with Bobby Hull for all-time Blackhawks points, and in absolutely perfect fashion, Patrick Kane sets up Jonathan Toews for a goal. He takes that second spot, and the Blackhawks are rolling now. 2 minutes and 39 seconds into the second period, once again, Patrick Kane finds Jonathan Toews for a goal, and the game is tied. On the power play, even. Patrick Kane with the primary assist on both goals. The captain, Jonathan Toews, after getting in a fight in that first period, really took over the game for his team, of course tying the game up after trying to energize the team or trying to stand up for his guys, whatever you want to say about the fight. We already talked about it, but just fantastic game from 88 and 19 because that's how that was always going to play out with him moving into the second spot. 9 minutes and 7 seconds into the second period, after maybe one of the best offensive zone shifts the Blackhawks have had all season, with all 5 guys on the ice touching the puck and moving around, and the puck was moving, the bodies were moving, and everything was happening. Ottawa couldn't touch the puck, couldn't clear the puck. It seemed like the Hawks had the puck in the zone for about 10 minutes, but of course they didn't because it was only 9 minutes and 7 seconds into the second period. But either way, Caleb Jones got on the board to make it 3-2 in favor of the Blackhawks. And because this game seems to be all about the storylines, earlier in the day yesterday, Seth Jones was talking to the media, said he was fine with how his game was going this season, but he was upset that the goals were not coming for him as of late because he's been getting chances, and Seth got a lot of chances last night to score a goal as well. He didn't get one, his brother got one, and and he got the primary assist on that goal. It's funny how things work out sometimes. So with that goal, the Blackhawks scored 3 unanswered in less than 10 minutes to start the second period, which is pretty impressive because they were down 2 players. Of course, we talked about what happened to Connor Murphy, but at the end of the first period, Dominik Kubalik was trying to dump the puck into the zone. It did not get into the zone because it hit Tyler Johnson in the side of the head and the ear area, and he was in a lot of pain and discomfort on the bench after that, and he was ruled out for the rest of the game because he was in concussion protocol. He was also cleared to travel with the team, just like Connor Murphy. We don't know if he does have a concussion or not. He was put in protocol. I think that's the best course of action since he took a puck to the side of the head. But this team really had to dig deep and rally for their teammates and play for each other out there. And they showed that's what they wanted to do, coming out scoring those 3 unanswered goals in the second period. Unfortunately, 15 minutes and 41 seconds into the second period, Nick Paul scored to tie the game 3-3. But not to worry, because 8 seconds later, Sam Lafferty had the puck cut to the middle of the ice and just ripped it right past Anton Forsberg. The Blackhawks once again had the lead. This time it was 4-3 in favor of the visiting team. Lafferty had a very good game last night. That wasn't the only scoring chance that he got. Unfortunately for him, it was the only one that he did score on, but he was all over the ice last night, and he could have easily had at least 2 goals. So into the second intermission, they went up 4-3. Much better than how everybody was feeling going into the first intermission. So they come out in the third period, and almost 9 minutes into that third period, Jake McCabe has a partial breakaway. Unfortunately, the puck is bouncing on him, and he doesn't even get a shot off because the puck is just going all over the place. But he does stick with it, and Kirby Dach comes up with the puck, has it behind the net. In comes Caleb Jones, just bursting down the center of the ice. Kirby Dach finds him. Caleb Jones with the slap shot blasts it home, his 2nd goal of the game, and his 4th goal of the season. Unfortunately, that one wasn't assisted by his brother, but it did give the Hawks a bit of breathing room. That made it 5-3 in favor of Chicago, and we will take that every day. But the point leaders for the team weren't done yet. 10 minutes and 4 seconds into the third period, Patrick Kane has the puck, gets it to Seth Jones, wanting so badly to get to that goal that he had talked about earlier in the day. He takes the shot on the net, but Dylan Strome says, I think I want the goal instead, and he just cuts around the defender, sticks his stick all the way out. I don't even know how he managed to actually connect with that puck, with how far he had to reach to get it, but he did. It was not a high stick. They looked at it after the goal went in, and it was 6-3 Blackhawks. So once again, Seth Jones does not pick up that goal he was looking for, but he did get a primary assist. And Patrick Kane, being Patrick Kane, picked up the secondary assist. That's his 49th assist on the season. Next one, obviously, if you do the math, will be number 50. Not too bad for Kaner, who's had some slow moments throughout the season, and good for Dylan Strome. It's been a tough season for him, but he's been on fire lately. Like I said before, that whole line has been. We don't know what'll happen in this upcoming week. The trade deadline is March 21st. But again, like I said a little earlier, it seems like Patrick Kane wants to keep the guy around. So that's how the game ended. The Blackhawks beat the Ottawa Senators 6-3 in, again, a very bittersweet game. They lose Connor Murphy. We have to hope he's okay. They lose Tyler Johnson to concussion protocol. Hopefully he doesn't have a concussion. Hopefully he's okay. And I want to say, much like Murphy, if he does have a concussion, just sit for the rest of the season. There's no need to come back and risk getting another one when they aren't playing for anything, but he did just miss a very extended period of time because he had neck surgery, the same one that Jack Eichel did. It was successful. He says he's feeling better than he has in years, and he's been playing very well out there too. So I'm sure it would be hard for him to sit out the rest of the year if he does indeed have a concussion, but again, brain health is so much more important than playing in games this season for this team who isn't playing for anything other than maybe to develop some good habits. But most of all, we just hope that those two guys are okay. And hopefully Toews is okay. Of course, it seemed like he was, came out and scored 2 goals to start the second period, but you never know with concussions, and he did take some big hits to the face in that fight, so hopefully he's all right. Again, looked like he was, but at the end of the day, these players matter more than whatever happens on the ice. So that's kind of where this team is sitting right now. After a pretty poor February, like I had talked about, having the losing record, getting shut out 3 times, they've had a very up and down March so far. They've had some very good games and lost some heartbreakers, like that game in Philly and the game in Boston. The game against Tampa was something. They beat Edmonton, which they just seem to love doing, and they won a game that they should have won against the Ottawa Senators. So now I must ask you if you are still around watching this video, because I'm unsure of this myself, but how are you feeling about the Chicago Blackhawks right now? And when I say that, I don't mean the organization and all of the stories that have followed them throughout this year. I mean purely on the ice. How do you feel about this team, how they are playing? What moves do you think they should make at the deadline? Maybe what moves do you think they will make? Are you nervous because it's Kyle Davidson's first trade deadline as GM? I know I'm a bit nervous. It's not like we could predict what Stan Bowman was going to do, but we kind of knew how his trades felt, I guess, for lack of a better way of explaining that. But we don't know what Davidson is going to do, and apparently the Blackhawks are in a rebuild again, so there's that. But how are you feeling? Are you optimistic about how the team is playing? Are you cautious? Are you pessimistic? Do you have good feelings going into the deadline? Are you very nervous like I am? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear all of it. And if you are still around, thank you so very much for tuning into this video. I greatly appreciate it. It's been a rough year, but the season is almost over, and I know that we are all going to miss hockey in the summer, so let's try to just enjoy the rest of the season while the hockey is still here. And who knows, maybe they will finish the season super strong, and maybe Kyle will make some great moves at the deadline and we will have things to be super excited about. Hey, it's possible. But anyway, that's all from me in this one. If you would like to follow along on social media, all of the links for those things are down in the description for you. You can also go over to From Center Ice, where you can find stories and podcast episodes and links to all of the stuff over there. Most importantly, I will say it again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I wouldn't be able to keep doing this without your support, and you guys are very supportive, and I love reading all of the comments. They bring a smile to my face, and let's enjoy the rest of this season. I will catch you all in the next video. Bye guys.